Greetings. This is Arvette McLean of Speak, The Universe Listens. As a very young person, I always felt that I carried the weight of the world on my shoulders, having to make grown-up decisions in order to survive a life marked with physical, sexual, and emotional abuse. While my face was smiling on the outside, on the inside, I always secretly cried and felt miserable. However, over the years, I learned some gems that helped to turn my life around. I now get to live the life of my dreams, filled with love, travel, and wonderment. And I am absolutely passionate about sharing what I have learned with you. If you want to live your best life, tune in each week as I, along with some amazing guests, share these life-changing gems with you. Inspired to be more, do more, have more. Greetings and welcome to Speak, the Universe Listens. And today's topic is moving on. And we actually are talking about moving on past our hurts. And so today I have Deborah joining me. How are you, Deborah?
Hi, Arvette. Hi, everyone. I'm good. Good to see you.
So we're talking about moving past hurt today. So do you have any past hurts that you feel like you've successfully navigated through?
Absolutely. Yes. I think that's just a part of, everyone's journey here on earth. We're going to have some past hurts that we need to get through. And I definitely have done that. I think the key for me, though, was to find the right channel to express my hurt. Once I actually, the very first thing was recognizing that what I was feeling was hurt, because hurt can bring up lots of different emotions. So thinking of a specific situation, I didn't realize that I was hurt initially. The emotion that came up for me was frustration, and then fear.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. So, and each time we have a situation, for me, each time I've had a situation where hurt was kind of the underlining emotion, different emotions came up either with it or before and after it. So it took me time first to sit with myself and identify the emotion. Yeah.
Well, that's really interesting. I don't know. I think a lot of times my first reaction might be anger.
Mm.
And but I think I'm kind of in tune. Like I know, oh, that hurt. Like
Yeah.
I can feel that emotion of hurt. I think I probably identify that with that kind of easily. But yeah, so for me, I think hurt and anger kind of go together hand in hand. I may be experiencing anger at first and then realizing, well, dang, no, I'm just hurt right now. So I think that is important, though, as you say, to really be able to identify, well, what is the emotion that I'm feeling in the first place?
Exactly. Yeah. When I'm able to identify the emotion, then I'm able to put in a process of channeling the emotion in the right direction or transmuting it, you know? So those are the first two steps for me, is identifying the emotion and emotions surrounding hurt, and transmuting, or pretty much just allowing yourself to feel it, but channeling it correctly. Because to be quite honest, what I would typically do is, I think they call it reflecting. I would not allow myself to own the feelings, and I would quickly put it on someone else.
Yeah.
Like, this is not for me, this is for you. Because I didn't want to feel that, I wasn't comfortable with it. But learning over time that it's just a part of the process, to getting you past the hurt. um, and allowing you to learn from it, to expand. So whatever situation you had that was hurtful, then next time you come across it, it may or will not bring up the same emotions. You move beyond, hurt. You're seeing it in a different way. But to deflect or put those feelings onto someone else just keeps me stuck, in the hurt. And I didn't realize it for a while, but that was the process.
Yeah. So I just think a lot of times we get stuck, like kind of like it's almost like in the anger with the other person, because normally it's some other entity that's involved that's causing
Right.
the hurt, or that we perceive to be causing the hurt. And we do record this podcast a little bit in advance. So by the time you guys see this podcast, I'm not sure where we'll be in the world in our lives. However, like right now, what we're dealing with is the very beginning stages of the public unrest as it relates to the killing of George Floyd. And at this time, I think a lot of us are experiencing the emotion, the feeling of hurt. We're feeling hurt and we're feeling angry, and as Deborah says, some other emotions may be there as well, like frustration and fear, and just wrapped up in a whole lot of things. And so, just like the whole ideal of getting past hurt. So we're talking about first identifying that hurt is involved, that's an emotion, and then trying to figure out, what do you do with it? So are we to be angry forever with the person who we perceive to cause the hurt? And if we hold on to that anger, what happens? What does that do to us? So I guess that's where we are now. So to me, what happens on an individual level, like the way you do something small is the same way you do something big. And I always say, as above, so is below. And so if we think about in our personal individual lives, like if someone, even, possibly a friend, has done something that we feel like has hurt us, what are the steps that we would then take to move past it? And then once we kind of understand that, we can also move that to the larger society, where we are offended as a society. Then what steps do we take to move past hurt? So, Deborah, you were speaking about letting that person go, so to speak.
Right, exactly. So not deflecting your hurt or the emotions that come with it, owning it, recognizing that that's your emotion and not trying to deflect it onto someone else, and being very responsible on what you do now that you understand that's what you're feeling, that's what the emotion is. So even today, dealing with the situation with George, the unfortunate loss and the way that, he died, for all the world to be able to see it, and it can be triggering. So there are some people that are, I feel, swept away in that emotion, and they kind of become unconscious. So they lose consciousness in a way that they're allowing the emotion to drive them, or allowing the emotion to tell them what to do, if that makes sense. They're allowing the emotion to take over, and then they are not displaying it in a way that is good for anybody, including themselves. So being very mindful and intentional about what you do with the hurt that you feel can go in a way that can be constructive and that can help others. You can share your story and or be a person that's listening to other stories to allow them to get past their hurt. Or you can hold on to the hurt and not move through it and allow it to destroy you, really, because holding on to such an emotion doesn't do anyone any good. Some things that are happening with a lot of corporations is they're opening the floor, they're providing this platform for their employees to speak freely on what's happening in the community and how they feel on what's happening with the nation and what they're seeing. And that is a very creative outlet and a wonderful way to channel your hurt, so that it allows you to slowly let go of it when you can at least speak about how you feel. You feel like you're being heard and you have a voice.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like just the whole idea of just, as individuals, if you're upset about something that's happened and you try to tell the person that it's the person that you feel like did that thing to you, you try to tell them and then they can't hear it. Like that's not really helpful. But if
Right.
they can hear it and they can understand where you're coming from and, they can offer some type of, not necessarily apology, but something that lets you know, okay, I hear you and, I wouldn't want to hurt you. That's not something I would want to do. Then that helps you quickly kind of start moving in the direction of healing and letting go of the hurt. So I totally agree with being able to express how you're feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's important too, to be able to express it. It just kind of domino effects. Okay, so now you've expressed your hurt. It puts you in a place of compassion for yourself. And then that energy allows you to just sit with different eyes on the situation that hurt you,
It's true that you say that because I'm tired of being emotional. I'm just an emotional wreck, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot going on.
Yeah, but one thing that I did notice, or I am noticing, is throughout this, it's like allowing me to go back into the past, reliving things that I felt like I had moved beyond, and allowing myself to actually feel the pain from the things that I never took the time to feel the pain about, because I was, you're too busy living your life. You live in your life, you don't have time to be in pain and woe is me. You have things to do. And I think like this whole situation has, I guess, offered me the space to feel the pain and to then feel compassion for myself.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And it's good for me to feel the pain from this space. Because now I'm in a space where I know how to, as you used the term earlier, I know how to transmute it.
Mm-hmm.
Where in the past, I just had to kind of push it out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm able to feel it. And I know at any time when I'm ready to put a time out on it, I know how to do that, but I know how to do it from in a healthy way and not in a way that just pretended like it didn't exist in the first place.
Right. Right. That's beautiful. That's growth. And I think that's what's happening to our nation is like we've got to a point where the pain of not growing is so great that we're forced to expand. It's like I can't keep doing the same thing I've been doing every time I see a person of color being treated unjustly and dying. I can't sit here and just watch it on TV and be like, oh, there's another one. We're all feeling that hurt together. And yes, it may trigger some things that happen to us personally. Yeah. And that's a beautiful thing you've shared. Thank you for sharing, Arvette. The way that you're able to look at it now with different eyes, because of the expansion that you've created or the expansion that you've had over time. you can look at your past hurts and see it completely different. Yeah. That's beautiful.
I think for me, just with hurt in general, it's like, for me, my process in terms of moving past it is to see if there's any part in me that can believe that whatever is happening right now is happening for my benefit.
Yes.
And so that's one thing you always say is not happening to you, it's happening for you.
For you.
And so once I got in the space where I was able to see that everything that was sucky grew from that. Now, don't get me wrong. I do not believe that sucky things have to happen in order for you to grow. And I feel like we're stuck in that. Like, we feel like we have to work hard and struggle and sucky things have to happen in order for us to grow. I don't believe that.
I agree.
However, I do know that in my life, every time something that just sucked happened, I grew as a result of it. And with that being the case, when things happen, I'm able to bounce back much quicker, because instead of me spending my time putting the anger on the person or the thing who may or may not be able to say, yeah, I did that, yeah, I was wrong. They may not be able to offer you what you want if you express it to them. So even in the absence of that, I'm able on my own to say, I know this is for me. I might not know in this moment for what. So just the ideal that it is allows me to release them and to really hold them harmless. But even beyond that, to say thank you, because I know you just taught me something.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. That is so true. I find myself being able to pick up on that faster now rather than, maybe years ago. I would hang on to that hurt for, an hour would become a day would become a week, a week I'd be mad for a month. And not realize that it's because, I'm not releasing that hurt in a way that's creative and more beneficial for my growth and expansion. Yeah.
Yeah, and some hurts are really, really hard to release. And a lot of times when it's a physical attack, I think, well, it's hard to say. I can't even say which type of attack is worse. But I know just from the work that I've done in terms of like the book that I wrote and some of the classes that I teach, I come across the same issue a lot. Like a lot of women who have been sexually abused, they don't understand, like, how was this for my benefit? We 30, 40, 50 years into this, and I'm just not seeing how was this for my benefit? I don't get it. And how am I supposed to let that person go? And I really don't want to, And so, and I understand that space. Thankfully, I was not in that space, but because I had gotten that question a lot, like, what am I supposed to do with this? I kind of put that question out into the universe. Okay, when you are physically violated, what are you supposed to do with that? And even with the situation that's going on in the country, it's current news, but it's not anything new. I mean, it's new to the degree that the blatancy of it, like, just to be able to for that police officer to do what he did, like, knowing he's on camera, knowing people are standing around, it's just like, just the blatancy of it. Now, that's new. That's not something we had seen before. And we know as a human race that we can't sink that low. We can't do that. We just can't do that.
Right.
So, and I know I'm digressing. However, it's like when you've been feeling the degree of hurt that we're feeling, it's like, how do you not feel that? Because it's not just us as individuals, it's not just us as the people who are, walking on this earth right now, but this stems years and years and years. And it's like, how do you get past the hurt of that? And so I put those kind of in the same boat in terms of maybe the sexual abuse. How do you get past that? And then just the abuse that we have had as a result of being brought here to this country and what we've endured. I kind of put those in the same boat of like, what? Like, you expect me to get over that? And I think for me, it's the same process. However, I think we have to go back and get what we've lost. So, for example, if you've been sexually abused, you really feel like you've lost so much. But if you really get to the core of it, it's like you feel like you've lost your power.
Right.
Yeah. And so how do you go back and claim that for yourself? And it's like when we, I guess, realize that we really are connected to the source of all that is, that it's not just us, one little individual, solitary, separate person, but we are connected to the whole, to divine. And so just to start realizing that and realize that you have the power to bless yourself. Like, you can bless yourself. And if what you're feeling is powerless, then you can start just practicing the feeling of power in your body. Just start practicing it and claiming it for yourself. And, realizing, okay, this is my body, but I'm more than just this body. I live in this body, but I'm more than just this body. And I want to take care of this body. I want this body to be safe. And just start seeing yourself as safe, seeing your body as safe, but recognizing that you are more than the body and that you have power beyond just this physical thing that we can see when we look in the mirror.
Exactly. Exactly. Well said. Yep. We have more than meets the eye. I keep referencing my 80s cartoons. I think that was either a G.I. Joe. I think my G.I. Joe quote is, knowing is half the battle. And Transformers is more than meets the eye. Yeah. So they were teaching us something in those cartoons from the 80s. We didn't know it. They were dropping some nuggets. But you're right. We are more than this body. Our experiences are connected, and they're more than just just within the moment. It's so true.
So when you can reclaim what you feel like you've lost, because the truth is we never lost it. Like, we're complete, we're whole, we're beyond anything we can imagine.
Yes.
But if we can reclaim for ourselves what we feel like we've lost. So for centuries we felt like victims as African Americans. Okay, can we reclaim that? Instead of feeling like victims, can we reclaim our ability to feel power? So once you reclaim what you've lost, then that allows you to now, basically in both of those situations, is power. I've lost my power. So now you go back and reclaim your power for yourself.
Yes.
And then if you choose to do so, and when you become ready, then you can now bless the person and the situation. Because holding them doesn't do anything further for you. So if you're ready, you can bless them, but you need to go back and reclaim your power, and realize that now from this space of power, you get to decide, like, am I going to, release them, or am I going to keep holding them hostage? And the choice is yours, and there's no rush for you to make that decision. Yeah.
But I agree. And that is a part of the second step that I mentioned, when you take the emotion of hurt and use that energy creatively. So as you mentioned, going back to reclaim your power, you're letting go of that hurt so that you can continue to move on and grow and expand, because you can't do that holding on to it.
Exactly.
Yes, wonderful. It makes me want to say amen. So amen to that.
Yeah. So you have any more to add about how to move on from hurt? So we mentioned being able to identify it as hurt, being able to express it, and to offer yourself some compassion, and also to reclaim what you feel like you've lost in the process.
Yes, that's right. I think one small thing I would add to that, and maybe not such a small thing, but I learned that it is okay to be angry. I was taught that, I don't know if it's because it was just like my understanding, maybe something I picked up along the way, that as a woman, no one wants to see you angry, or you're supposed to present yourself in a certain way emotion wise. So anger was a emotion that I thought was not appropriate for me, but it's actually a part of that process. As you mentioned, some of the emotions you experience that came along with her are anger, and you have the right to feel angry, especially when you feel that unjust. When there's injustice, it makes you angry. That's a wonderful emotion to use to as a catalyst to get through and to move on past the hurt. So I wanted to put that out there, because I learned to channel my anger. I learned to own my emotion, understand that the emotion to be angry is okay, and I can use it as a catalyst to move past the other emotions that accompany my anger, which is hurt and so forth. So,
yeah. And I also, one thing that's for me is, I also believe that all of us are connected to the same source, and that none of us, if we were operating from our highest selves, none of us would ever hurt another. And so the only reason that we are hurting each other is because in that moment in time, we're just unconscious. Like, we don't know who we are. We're separate from who we really are. And in that unconscious moment, which for a lot of us, it goes on and on. Well, for most of us, it goes on and on. We don't know who we are. But while we're unconscious, we are likely to do anything. And so for those of us who are working towards being the best of who we are, bringing our higher selves into alignment with who we walk around as every day, one of the things that we can try to keep in our mind is that, yes, that person who's doing that horrendous thing is also a part connected to the source of all that is. That person is also a light. They might have a lot of veils.
Right.
Covering their light.
True. Yes.
So they may be unconscious right now. And I think that if we can remember that, and not, I don't, like I said, it doesn't have to be immediate, but if you can remember, oh yeah, they are teaching me something, and and they just unconscious right now, and I'm moving to become more conscious. Hopefully they're moving to become more conscious, but basically to start seeing things in a different way, seeing it change how you're thinking about things. And so it's not to not address, or it's not to suppress any emotions or feelings, but it's to change how you're even perceiving of the thing that's happening in the first place.
Exactly. You have to be conscious in those moments.
Yeah. And like with this situation, it's so easy to want to judge with George Floyd and, throw out all kinds of just negative energy towards everyone. But I feel like that's what we're here to do. We're here to expand.
Yes.
To expand the universe. And this incident in history, in the history of our lives, in the history of the world, is expanding the consciousness of us all. It's going to make all of us better. And one of my songs that I've been singing every day for about maybe like a month or two, every day I sing the song. I don't want to sing it because I can't sing, but uh, can you feel a brand new
I know that song. That's a good one.
I've been singing that in the mornings during my morning walks because I'm practicing feeling freedom in my body. And so when I
Yes.
sing that song, it makes me light. I'm like dancing, I'm skipping down the middle of the street and that type of thing. And but in the light of what's going on, I'm really singing it now because it's like, yeah, I can feel a brand new day.
Yes.
Guys, I do just want to add one more time. Like, I don't feel like it's a rush. I don't feel like we have to rush anything or feel like we have to rush over our emotions. But I do feel like instead of preparing or looking at our future from the past, we have to look to what it is that we want, because that's where our point of creation is. Our point of creation is actually right here in the present moment. So in the present moment, rather than continuing to focus on all the things we don't want, if we start focusing on what we do want, and because that is our point of creation. And I was just thinking about this today in the shower, like the difference between, because I always say, I don't want just anybody to pray for me.
Right.
Even though everybody has the same intention, let's just say if you're sick and someone prays for you, everybody who would pray for you would have the same intention. They want you to get better. But
Right.
some people, when they would pray for you, they would pray from you seeing you sick, right? And then others would pray from you from a space of seeing you well.
You will, yes.
Yeah. And so when I think about it in my own body, and everybody just take a moment to do this. Think about something that hurts you right now, something that doesn't feel good in your body right now. And if you're perfectly ailment free, that's great. But think of a time when something was hurting you in your body. And then think about it from the perspective of, I need this pain to go away. Think about how does that feel in your body when you're like in prayer or talking to your higher self and you're just like, I need this pain to go away. Versus when you're saying, oh, I cannot wait until I can jump in the pool again, or I can't wait until I can use this hand to write again, or like you're starting to see yourself already doing the thing that you want to do. It's like a totally different energy. And it's because a part of you already knows exactly what needs to happen to bring that thing into existence. A part of you is already healed. And so when you start talking about speaking to the healed part of you, it comes to life. And it's the same with this, because again, we're all connected. And so if we're talking about we want change, but we're saying it from, I'm tired of being, oppressed, versus, oh my gosh, like, what's next? I can't wait to get to what's next. It's a totally different energy, and it's an energy of creation.
That is true. And it's a beautiful way to transmute that energy to move forward.
All right. So thank you so much for joining me, Deborah.
Welcome. Thank you. So good to see you, Arvette. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, I will see you soon. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And until next time, bye.